We go now to the Deputy National Security Advisor, John Feiner. Good morning.
Good morning, Margaret.
I know hostage diplomacy is extremely delicate. We've been close to a big breakthrough before and then fallen apart. But this morning, Qatar's prime minister says we are close enough to reach a deal, and the differences are just logistical at this point. Does the U.S. share that assessment?
What I can say at this point is we share the assessment that many areas of difference that previously existed have been narrowed, that we believe we are closer than we have been to reaching a final agreement, but that on an issue as sensitive as this and as challenging as this, the mantra that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed really does apply, and we do not yet have an agreement in place. And so until that is the case, we're not going to lay out all the details in public.
So Israel's prime minister said on CBS recently that they had intelligence indicating that there were hostages at Al-Shifa hospital, but none were found. There were 2 bodies found nearby. Did the U.S. share the assessment that hostages were being held at the hospital? Because there was a release suggesting that from declassified intelligence the U.S. shared. Was the U.S. assessment wrong?
So what I am going to tell you is what we have put out in terms of intelligence that we have been able to share and that we've been able to downgrade on Al-Shifa. And look, this is a microcosm of the challenges associated with this entire conflict, because this is obviously a hospital where there are patients who are being treated, the most advanced hospital in Gaza, also a place where innocent civilians have gathered during the course of this conflict, and all of those innocent lives are sacred to us, are equal in value to lives anywhere that are innocent. We have also said and been quite clear that we have intelligence information, not just Israeli intelligence, but American intelligence, that Hamas has used this facility to build terrorist infrastructure, to do command and control for combat operations. And we've been quite clear about that, but we have also said that none of that authorizes, in our view, direct military strikes from the air or on the ground against that hospital. So that is the complicated knot that the Israeli Defense Forces find themselves in, and that is how we are advising them to proceed at this point.
Right. The downgraded assessment shared by the White House said the U.S. believes that there could be, in Al-Shifa hospital, a command node and tunnels underneath, and that in the past, these hospitals have been used to hold hostages. That's why I was asking you, since none were found there, if the U.S. actually thought there would be hostages there. There has been no
One thing
command.
I'd say about that, Margaret, is that facility is still being exploited by the Israeli Defense Forces. I expect you'll see more information in the coming days. I think we feel confident in the information that we've put out, and let's see what their investigation reveals and where it leads.
Israel's prime minister was on this network this week and told my colleague Nora O'Donnell that they are trying to cause minimal civilian casualties, but, quote, unfortunately, we're not successful. Given that acknowledgement by Israel, I wonder if the administration is applying the Leahy Act here that would allow for the United States to restrict some military equipment based on human rights basis. Is Israel exempt from that, given what's happened and what Israel is acknowledging? Do you need to change that?
No countries are obviously exempt from laws of armed conflict or from U.S. statutory restrictions, but beyond that, not going to say more. What I will say, though, is we have been quite clear that Israel has every right to defend itself against the threat that it faces. That includes, by the way, the right to go after Hamas leadership, who they say now have fled to the southern part of Gaza and have sought refuge there. So in the event that we believe that Israel is likely to embark on combat operations, including in the south, we believe both that they have the right to do that, but that there is a real concern because hundreds of thousands of residents of Gaza have fled now from the north to the south at Israel's request. And we think that their operations should not go forward until those people, those additional civilians, have been accounted for in their military planning. And so we will be conveying that directly to them and have been conveying that directly to them. They should draw lessons from how the operation proceeded in the north, including lessons that lead to greater and enhanced protections for civilian life, things like narrowing the area of active combat, clarifying where civilians can seek refuge from the fighting. But I'll also reiterate that Hamas takes no such precautions. In fact, openly and wantonly flouts and almost brags about its desire to perpetrate war crimes. And so this is an adversary that does not hold itself to the standard that we and others believe is essential.
Understood. Hamas is extremely brutal. I want to quickly ask you about President Biden's op-ed that he published in the Washington Post. He said the U.S. is prepared to issue visa bans against extremists. He was referring to Israeli settlers moving into the West Bank. Does that threat have teeth, given that there are estimates that American citizens make up as much as 15% of the settler population?
Look, the president has been extremely clear, I think, far beyond even what many of his predecessors said about our concerns about developments on the West Bank, and in particular our concerns about violence perpetrated against innocent Palestinians by extreme settlers. He said that in public speeches. He said that in an op-ed that he has published just this weekend. And as he indicated, and as we are now moving to operationalize, that could include consequences that the U.S. would impose on people associated with violence against innocents in the West Bank, including a ban on them being able to travel to the United States on visas. And we're moving in that direction, and we'll have more to say about that, I'm sure, in the coming days.
Understood. John Feiner, thank you very much for your time this morning.